Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to Chocolate Covered Pages. I'm Kiona, and today I want to talk about some books that you should be picking up for the holiday season. So let's get into it. Now, the first book is going to be a little bit of a surprise because y'all know I don't really read that much young adult. But I will make an exception for certain ones. This one is on the older end of young adult, like that 16, 17-year-old range. And it is a thriller. So, when it comes to these thrillers, I'm going to read all of them. Like, I don't discriminate when it comes to thrillers. Whoever's writing it, it just needs to be good. And this one was pretty good. They're Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. I love the cover, and that's really what drew me to this book. And it was also getting really good reviews. So I was like, okay, let me just check it out and see what's what. So this book is about a girl named Adina Walker. And Adina Walker is black, of course. And Adina Walker goes to this school with all these, rich white kids, yada, yada, yada. We've read those types of stories before, right? Exactly. But what I do like about this one is that this one is more like Ace of Spades meets the Squid Games. I thought that it was going in a direction of Ace of Spades, and at first that is what had me like, no, I'm kind of good on that. But actually this went in another direction, and I can appreciate that. So this one is about a girl named Adina Walker, and Adina Walker is going to this high school, but she gets into it with someone in the high school, right? Somebody was testing her, and the girl effed around and she found out. Unfortunately, there's consequences for doing stuff like that, and Adina Walker gets her invitation to go to this Ivy League school rescinded. And she is completely devastated, and she's trying to figure out like what else could she do to try to get into this school or any Ivy League for that matter, because it's always been her dream. So there is this competition called The Finish, and Adina decides that she needs to get into this competition called The Finish, and it is pretty much her last ditch effort to try to make a name for herself and to get back into this Ivy League school's good graces. So there's this white family called the Remingtons, and the Remingtons are the ones that host this event, this competition called The Finish. And Adina is able to get herself an invitation to this competition, and it just kicks off from there. Like, I need to put this book down because it's getting a little heavy. I like the cattiness of it all. Like, I always love a competition, right? And I like a competition for this very reason, where it's just cattiness, and this person is like, oh, I think she's the favorite, so let me do this. Let me try to sabotage her. The sabotage, honey. That is the type of stuff that I like to read about on the page. Like, the sabotages were pretty good. And then also, too, trying to figure out, like, what is this whole thing about? You know what I mean? And when you find out what this whole competition is about, like, what is the point of it all? Like, because in the beginning, they don't really explain to you what is the point of this entire competition. What do the Remingtons get out of hosting this competition? And some of the people that are other, competitors in this competition, they go to school with Adina. She knows them. So they bring in school drama into this competition. They bringing the drama over here and continuing it on. It ain't no, like we should team up because we know each other. Nah, it's on some, when I see you, I'ma see you because I've been had a problem with you when we was in school, and now you over here and I want to win, you want to win. It's still beef, girl. So I like that. I thought that was well done. That they just keep the beef going, and the little romance in there. Yeah, I probably could have did without that, to be honest. I don't know why in their romances, they just don't really do it for me. But yeah, other than that, I thought it was pretty good. I would have liked a little bit more out of the ending, but I was still pretty satisfied with it. All in all, like I said, it's a pretty solid thriller. Obviously, it's going to talk a lot about race, and it's going to talk about, it's going to talk about race, you know, a lot, basically, because Adina is the only black girl in this competition, of course, and, it's this family has a lot of secrets, so it's a lot to dig into, but I would say that it's perfect for this Halloween season because it's very atmospheric, you know, folks going to die, and that's what we like to read about during this time. So, you know, definitely pick this one up if it sounds like it's your jam. Next book I want to recommend is All Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby, and this was my second S.A. Cosby book. The last book I read from him was Razor Blade Tears, which I already talked about because I enjoyed that one. And this one is no different. Like, I enjoyed this one as well. I do find that this one is a hell of a lot darker than Razor Blade Tears. And I'm always here for the dark. A former black student has come back to this high school and shot one of the teachers there. And everybody is trying to figure out what the hell. And when the student shoots the teacher, the student ends up getting killed by the police officers that were on the scene, right? Now, the sheriff of this very small town in Virginia, his name is Titus. He's the first black sheriff in this town. And this is a town with a lot of white people in it. And they, you know, most of these people don't want him even in the position. And it kind of puts him in a very sticky situation because, you know, this former student is black. The teacher that he killed is white. And, you know, we know that black people are constantly being gunned down by officers, and so it's like all of these things are happening at once, and Titus is like, yo, what the hell? Like, I ain't even been sheriff for that long, and y'all already cutting up. Like, I got all this paperwork to do, you know, and then it doesn't make it any better that the kid who did it is the son of one of his friends. And it's just like, I know, Titus was having a bad day. All of this happens at the very beginning, so it's not a spoiler. It's also in the synopsis. And everything pretty much kicks off from there. They're trying to find out, well, Titus is trying to find out, why did this kid kill this teacher? This is a beloved teacher by everybody, and you know, everybody's just like, well, good that they killed, you know, that teenager who did that to the teacher. Like, we all love Mr. So-and-so, and you know, but Titus knows that like something clearly is going on, because why would he have done that? Granted, this kid had a lot of mental issues, so he's really trying to tread lightly and try to figure out what is going on. This book was a lot. Okay? I will give some trigger warnings for child abuse. All of the trigger warnings that you could possibly think of. But yeah, that's one of the biggest ones, I think. some stuff was hard to read. I'm gonna be honest with you. Some stuff was hard to read, but it's definitely giving those thriller vibes that we're looking for during this time. And as always, S.A. Cosby just knows how to keep you on the edge of your seat and keep you wanting more and trying to figure out, okay, let me keep going because I need to find out, why did he kill this teacher? Okay, who else is who else is involved in this? Like, what is going on? Is everybody dead that was involved? Like, what is happening? Right? And I love the way S.A. Cosby just allows us to just keep peeling back the layers on this thriller and getting just a little bit more. And yeah, so I enjoyed that one. I think I might have, you know what? I enjoyed the thriller suspense aspects of this one more than I enjoyed it in Razorblade Tears. I think I just enjoyed the actual plot of Razorblade Tears more, if that makes sense. But yes, if you haven't picked up Razorblade Tears, you should definitely read that one as well. And then just read them both. Just read them both. Okay, so this next recommendation is gonna be another surprise. Because y'all know, for the most part, I typically ride out for authors of color, right? But every now and again, like I said, I don't discriminate when it comes to these thrillers. So every now and again, I will find a thriller by someone who's not of color. And if you see me recommending it, that mean it's good. Okay, it's good. It's good. And this one is definitely gonna go to None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. Don't pay attention to this cover because this was an advanced reader copy. The cover is actually a bit better than this. Not so much better than this, but this is better than this, right? So this book, oh my god. This book was crazy. It had me excited because I hadn't felt this way about a thriller in a little while when I read this book. And I was really excited. You know that feeling when you're reading a thriller and you just like, ooh, what's next? Like, you just, like, your heart is racing a little bit because you can't even turn the page fast enough because you just need to know what's the story. So we meet this woman named Alex and we meet this other woman named Josie, right? So Josie decides that for her birthday this year, her 45th birthday this year, she is going to make her husband take her to a bar, right? A bar to celebrate her birthday. They never do this any other year. They never ever do this. And she decides she want to do something. She want to bring in her 45th different, right? So when Josie comes to this bar, she also notices that there's another woman named Alex across the tables that is also celebrating her 45th birthday. But she's there. She's surrounded by her people, her husband. Like, they all like loving on her and stuff. And Josie's just thinking like, dang, yo, like, I wish that was me, you know? And she sees Alex going to the bathroom. She follows her into the bathroom. I was just like, you see, this is why I don't mess with people. This is exactly why. Why is you following this woman into the bathroom? Like, it's creepy. So she goes into the bathroom because she see this girl going in just so she could literally be like, oh, it's your birthday too? Oh, it's my birthday too. Like, oh, wow. Oh, when is your birthday? Yeah, so their birthday's on the same day. They find out they were born in the same hospital. Very strange, right? What a coincidence, right? So now they're done with it. Alice goes on about her business. But Josie cannot let it go. Like, she continues to somehow, I don't even remember how. Somehow she figures out this woman's first and her last name, looks her up, start seeing her, looking at her stuff on social media and seeing like, what is this woman about? She sees that this chick has a podcast. She started listening to all the freaking episodes of the podcast. Now, mind you, she's only seen this woman in this bathroom at this bar. And all of a sudden, this is why you gotta be careful what you put on social media, because it's a lot of creepy people out here. It's a lot of crazy people out here. So she goes and she somehow figures out that Alex's kids go to this school that her own kids used to go to. Her kids are older now. So she decides that she's gonna go over to where this school is and bump into Alex. So she does that, and then Alex like, oh, and Josie's like, yeah, remember me, girl? And she's like, oh, from the bar? Like, okay, like, you got kids here or something? And Alex, and then Josie was like, oh no, my kids used to go here. And I'm thinking to myself, so then ask her what the hell she doing at the school with no kids at this school. Like, it just didn't, I just feel like Alex wasn't asking the right questions to bring out how strange Josie was being, right? So then Josie gets this bright idea after listening to all these podcast episodes that Alex was making, because these podcasts, her podcast is about like empowering women and like women having like this breakthrough, but it's usually like after the fact when they get on this podcast. And Josie's like, you know, I'm gonna have some changes going on in my life, and I want you to document my life, and I want to come to you with my story, and you know, I want to give you my story as your new, you know, podcast subject or whatever. And then Alex was like, okay, child, why did she say that? You know, Josie is just the complete unreliable narrator that we love and we hate. You know, we love and we hate the unreliable narrator because they entertaining, because we just be reading like, yeah, girl, tell me what else. Yeah, I don't believe nothing you saying, but keep going. Just keep going. But Alex was eating it up. Alex was eating it up, you know, and the whole time I'm trying to figure out what's real, what's not, like what is going on, right? And somehow Josie finds her way into Alex's house, which boggles my mind. But you know, it's not a spoiler, it's on the back of this book. But this book was wow. Honestly, like, it makes me want to read some more Lisa Jewell, because I heard that Lisa Jewell was doing the thing, but this latest one is really good, and it makes me want to just go pick up some more of her stuff, like, you know, cause yeah, like, I'm with all the thrillers. I'm with all of it. So definitely add this one to your list, because it's actually a little bit it's a little long, but it didn't feel like it was. Oh, like almost 400 pages, which is a little bit long for a thriller, but I was thrilled. I was thrilled for 400 pages, okay? Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because I've already talked about this book before in another video, but we're going to go with Lone Women by Victor LaValle. And, you know, how can I not bring this up? You know, it just feels wrong to have left it out of this video. This book is about a woman named Adelaide who starts off living in California, and then she finds in the newspaper that she could go and live in Montana to possibly be a homesteader, and if she is able to grow the land for 5 years, the land becomes hers outright. So she decides to go off and do that, but before she leaves her home, it's very clear that her parents are dead, and she leaves this house with her dead parents still in it, and she takes a large steamer trunk. And this large steamer trunk goes with her all the way to Montana. And the entire book, we're trying to figure out what is going on with this steamer trunk, because every time this steamer trunk opens, somebody disappears. This book is atmospheric. It is so satisfying. It is just everything that I would expect from a Victor Laval. Is it Laval or Laval? Somebody tell me down in the comments if you know, because I'm going to just keep reading his books and I don't want to mispronounce his name. So if you know, just let me know. But I love how he always like sets the scene for us in his books, and he just always just lets us really kind of get really good backstories, so that when shit starts to hit the fan, we're very surprised, because it always feels like it came out of nowhere when really he's been setting us up the whole entire time. So I really enjoyed this book. It definitely has a bit of mystery in it, because you're trying to figure out what is in this steamer trunk and why do people keep disappearing. There's also so much more happening in the pages of this book as far as in Montana, in this town. The town is very strange. It's just about women, specifically women of color, and how they were navigating at this time. This is also historical fiction. So it was good to learn some things about what possibly life could have been like for a woman of color during that time. So definitely pick this one up if that sounds good to you. The next book I want to recommend is Perfectly Nice Neighbors by Kia Abdullah. And this is the second book that I've read by this author. It is a thriller. And as you guys know, I'm always on the hunt for thrillers by authors of color. And this one did not disappoint. This one came out, I think, in September. And this one is pretty much what the title is. It is about this family called the Khatoons. Salma Khatoon, her and her family are from Bangladesh, and they decided to move to this town called Blenheim, I think it's called. This town has a lot of white people in it, so you know they already feel a little bit, you know, different. So they moved to this house, and they are, you know, attempting to integrate themselves into the neighborhood. You know, there's like a barbecue when they first move in, and they come to the barbecue. Somebody makes a little comment like, oh, y'all made this, or y'all can make it a little bit spicier for us. You know, I'm not, you know, I like it spicy. You know, just making comments that, you know, are a bit unnecessary, I guess. And you know, so of course the wife is already feeling a little way, right? So then she catches her next door neighbor Tom knocking down a anti-racist sign that she has in her yard, and she catches her next door neighbor knocking it over. And of course, you know, he's white, and it just look a certain way. You know what I mean? Like, it just looks a certain way. Instead of confronting dude, she decides to, you know, retaliate. I feel like the knocking over of the sign is what really kicked off the rest of the book, because it became a game of tit for tat. Social media is involved, you know, folks is getting dragged online. Like, it was an entire thing. And honestly, like, we've seen stuff like this before. Like, we've seen, you know, people doing and saying stuff that they don't have no business doing, getting blasted online. And then what we don't typically see is what happens after. Like, does this person that got blasted, do they retaliate against the person who originally blasted them online? Like, what actually happens? This book had a lot going on, you know. It really had a lot going on as far as, like, who's right in this situation, who's wrong. everybody was doing something they had no business doing. That's all I'ma say. Like I can't find like somebody that whose hands are completely clean here. Okay, so it's but it makes for a lot of a lot of conversation on race and what's okay to say, what's not okay to say, how uncomfortable some people could be when you are of color and you come into their area, even though you may not say something that is racist, maybe you didn't say the N-word, but you said something that's a little questionable. It could be a teachable moment. Do people feel like always teaching? No. You know what I mean? So there's a lot to be discussed with this book, and I would love to discuss it with somebody if they were interested. Hit me in a DM or whatever, hit me in the comments, or we could talk about it. But I don't want to spoil nobody, so probably just like DM me or something. One thing that Kia Abdullah is good at is doing a legal drama, and there is a court case that happens here, and yeah, she does what she does best. Like, she is very good at legal thrillers, the back and forth of it all and the presenting of evidence, and it's a few kind of like gotcha moments, and it's a few surprises in this book. It's definitely a few surprises. So I felt like this was a really solid thriller to kind of start off October with. And I'm going to do you one better, and I'm going to tell you about another book by Kia Abdullah that I actually thought was better than Perfectly Nice Neighbors. This is the first Kia Abdullah book that I read by her, which is called Next of Kin. And when I tell you, this book right here, this book is wild. And I mean, it's wild from you trying to figure out what is going on in the beginning and why, to that very last page. To that very last page is like the, oh my gosh, what? Like, yes. This book is about two sisters. They both have husbands. One sister has a son, and the other sister, her and her husband, have been trying for a baby, but it just hasn't been able to happen for them. But she's still a very good aunt to her nephew. And one day something happens that flips this family upside down. It's devastating, it's terrible, and it just flips everything upside down. And it's just like, dude, like what? Like, what just happened? And when you get to, remember I said she does the legal thrillers. So when we get to the court case and they're in court and it's starting to go back and forth, like, I honestly never thought that I was interested in legal thrillers, but she really makes me interested. She really does. Like, it typically be feeling like a lot of legal jargon that I'm not interested in, but I like the way Kia does this. I like the way she does this because it is not too far past the, okay, I don't understand what's going on right now, but we fully understand what is going on. I love when she pulls out the evidence, and it's just, we just as shocked as the damn jurors, okay? So I like how she does this. And she has some other books that I definitely want to get into because I just want to get more into her catalog. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you give me a thumbs up and also subscribe if you haven't, so that we could keep hanging out like this all the time. And I will catch you in the next video. Bye.